In the year 2347, Earth found itself under the shadow of something far larger than anything humanity had ever faced. An enormous fleet of alien ships descended into orbit, their sleek and menacing forms blotting out the sun over New York City. The sheer size of the vessels made skyscrapers look like toys, and the hum of their engines vibrated through the ground below. People stopped in the streets to stare upward, their faces a mix of awe and disbelief. Yet, curiously, there was no widespread panic. Instead, an odd sense of calm settled over the planet. Inside the United Nations headquarters, leaders from around the world gathered for an emergency meeting. Jack Miller, a confident military strategist with sharp eyes and a quick wit, leaned back in his chair as reports poured in about the alien presence. Across the table sat Emily Dawson, a brilliant astrophysicist whose knowledge of extraterrestrial life had become invaluable over the years. Her calm demeanor masked the storm of thoughts racing through her mind. Both were well aware that this moment could shape the future of humanity forever. The room buzzed with quiet murmurs, until a holographic transmission flickered to life at the center of the chamber. A towering figure materialized before them, Vrax of the Zorathian Galactic Empire. His glowing red eyes scanned the room, and his deep, booming voice echoed ominously. "Humans," he began, his tone dripping with disdain. "You are now part of the Zorathian Empire. Resistance is futile. Surrender your planet, or face annihilation." For a moment, silence filled the room. Then, unexpectedly, Jack chuckled. It wasn't loud or disrespectful, just a soft laugh that broke the tension. He leaned forward slightly, resting his elbows on the table. "Well," he said, his voice steady and almost conversational, "that's one way to start a conversation." His comment drew surprised glances from others, but no one scolded him. In fact, a few people couldn't help but smile faintly. Emily cleared her throat, drawing attention back to the matter at hand. She spoke calmly, addressing not only the leaders in the room, but also the hovering image of Commander Vrax. "We've faced challenges before," she said, "and we've always found a way to adapt, to overcome. You should know that humanity doesn't bow easily to threats." Her words carried weight, yet they lacked hostility. There was something almost reassuring about her tone, as if she believed deep down that this crisis, too, would pass. Outside the UN building, crowds continued to gather. News reporters scrambled to capture reactions from ordinary citizens. Sarah Bennett, a journalist known for her insightful interviews, approached a group of bystanders. "What do you think about all this?" she asked, holding up her microphone. One man shrugged and replied, "If they're here to take over, I hope they bring better coffee." Another chimed in, laughing, "Yeah, and maybe fix the Wi-Fi while they're at it." These light-hearted responses weren't unusual. Across the globe, people reacted to the alien arrival with a mix of curiosity and humor. Social media lit up with jokes, memes, and creative edits of the Zorathian ships photoshopped into famous landmarks. Humanity's ability to laugh in the face of danger seemed to catch even the aliens off guard. Back in the UN meeting, tensions remained high, but there was an undeniable undercurrent of confidence. Jack glanced at Emily, who gave him a subtle nod. Whatever happened next, humanity wouldn't go down without a fight, or at least without cracking a few jokes along the way. As the initial shock of the Zorathian arrival began to settle, Emily Dawson took a step forward in the UN meeting room. Her voice was calm but firm as she addressed the gathered leaders. "This isn't the first time humanity has faced a threat that seemed impossible to overcome," she said, her words carrying a quiet confidence. She went on to explain how humans had survived countless disasters throughout history: world wars, pandemics, and even environmental collapse. Each challenge had only made them stronger, more innovative, and more united. Emily pointed out that humanity's greatest strength wasn't its weapons or technology, it was its ability to adapt. When we thought artificial intelligence might destroy us, We learned to work with it instead, she continued. When climate change threatened our homes, we found new ways to live sustainably. Every time something tried to break us, we rebuilt ourselves better than before. Her speech resonated deeply with those in the room, and even Jack Miller, who usually kept his emotions in check, nodded approvingly. Meanwhile, outside the walls of the UN headquarters, life on Earth carried on in its unique way. Sarah Bennett, the journalist, walked through the streets of New York, microphone in hand, asking people for their thoughts about the alien fleet looming above them. To her surprise, and perhaps delight, most responses were far from fearful. One woman named Lisa smiled and said, "If they're here to take over, I just hope they like pizza. We could always use more customers at my shop." A man standing nearby added with a grin, "Yeah, and if they try to charge us rent for living here, we'll send them to our landlords. They can deal with that headache." Social media had already exploded with memes and jokes. Bill Carter, a tech-savvy teenager from Chicago, spent hours creating funny videos, mocking the Zords. In one clip, he superimposed cartoon sound effects over Commander Vrax's earlier transmission, turning the intimidating alien leader into the punchline of a joke. The video went viral within minutes, shared by millions around the world. Even astronauts aboard the International Space Station joined in on the fun. Using reflective panels, they projected giant smiley faces onto the sides of their modules, visible from space. It was humanity's way of saying, "You may have big ships, but we've got bigger hearts and a great sense of humor." Back inside the UN, Jack leaned back in his chair again, watching the holographic image of Commander Vrax flicker slightly. He couldn't help but shake his head. You'd think after traveling across galaxies, they'd come up with something more original than "resistance is futile," he muttered under his breath. Someone nearby chuckled softly, and the tension in the room eased just a little. Emily glanced at Jack, then turned her attention back to the group. "The Zorthians are used to fear," she said. "They expect us to cower, to beg for mercy. But what if we don't? What if we show them that humanity doesn't operate that way?" Her suggestion sparked a wave of agreement among the leaders. Humanity's response wouldn't be based on aggression or despair. It would be rooted in resilience, creativity, and maybe even a touch of sarcasm by the end of the day. News outlets reported that morale across the planet remained surprisingly high. Families gathered around dinner tables, discussing the aliens not with dread, but with curiosity. Teachers told their students stories about how humans had always risen to meet challenges head-on, and in living rooms, bars, and parks, laughter echoed a universal language that no alien empire could silence. For the first time, the Zorathians encountered a species unlike any other. Instead of trembling in fear, humanity stood tall, ready to face whatever came next, not with swords or shields, but with wit, wisdom, and an unshakable belief in their own strength. The next morning, the Zorathian fleet remained ominously suspended in Earth's orbit, casting long shadows over cities and towns. Inside the United Nations headquarters, leaders braced themselves for another transmission from Commander Vrax. The holographic projector flickered to life once more, and the towering alien figure reappeared, his glowing red eyes scanning the room, as if trying to intimidate everyone into submission. His deep voice boomed through the chamber. "Humans, you have been given a clear directive. Surrender your planet, or face destruction." Instead of cowering, Jack Miller rose slowly from his seat. He stood tall, his posture relaxed but confident. With a faint smirk playing on his lips, he addressed the hologram directly. "Commander Vrax," he began, his tone casual, almost friendly. "Nice ship you've got there. Ever thought about adding cup holders? You know, for those long trips across the galaxy?" The comment caught everyone off guard. A ripple of laughter spread through the room, breaking the tension like sunlight piercing through clouds. Commander Vrax didn't find it amusing. His expression darkened, and his voice grew even louder. Your insolence will not save you, he roared. But before he could continue, Emily Dawson leaned forward, her calm demeanor unwavering. Commander, she interjected politely, we understand that you're here to expand your empire, but perhaps we can find a way to coexist without resorting to threats. After all, isn't communication better than conflict? Vrax hesitated for a moment, clearly unprepared for this kind of response. Back on his flagship, he exchanged glances with his officers, who seemed equally baffled by humanity's lack of fear. For centuries, the Zorothian Empire had conquered planets using intimidation alone. Fear was their weapon, their shield, their strategy. Yet here were humans laughing, joking, and offering solutions instead of surrendering. Frustrated, Vrax cut off the transmission abruptly, leaving the room silent once again. Jack turned to Emily and raised an eyebrow. Well, that went better than expected, he said dryly. Emily nodded, though her mind was already racing ahead. She knew the Zorathians wouldn't give up so easily. This was just the beginning. Outside the UN building, the world continued to respond to the alien presence with humor and creativity. Bill Carter, the teenager from Chicago, uploaded yet another viral video. This time he edited footage of Vrax's speech to make it sound like he was singing a nursery rhyme. The clip spread like wildfire, earning millions of views within hours. People around the globe couldn't resist sharing it, turning the menacing commander into an unwitting internet sensation. Even astronauts aboard the International Space Station kept up their playful defiance. They used reflective panels to project giant thumbs-up symbols toward the Zorothian fleet, visible from space. It was a simple gesture, but one loaded with meaning. Humanity wasn't afraid, and they refused to let fear dictate their actions. Back on Earth, Sarah Bennett interviewed a group of children playing in Central Park. One little girl named Mia held up a drawing she had made of a Zorothian ship, surrounded by balloons and rainbows. Maybe they're just lonely, she said innocently. We should invite them to our birthday parties. Her words struck a chord with many adults watching the broadcast. Humanity's ability to see hope even in the face of danger. Infectious. As the day wore on, news outlets reported that the Zorothians appeared agitated. Their ships moved restlessly in orbit, and occasional bursts of energy shot harmlessly into space, as if venting frustration. It was becoming clear that humanity's unconventional approach was working. By refusing to play the role of frightened victims, they were forcing the invaders to question everything they thought they knew about conquest. Jack and Emily met privately later that evening, reviewing the events of the day. They're not used to this, Jack said, leaning against a desk. Fear is their currency, but we're spending something different. Confidence, humor, unity. Emily smiled faintly. Exactly. And if we keep doing that, we might just win this without firing a single shot. For now, humanity stood firm, united not by weapons or force, but by its boundless spirit and unshakable belief in itself. The Zorothians had underestimated their opponents, and that mistake would prove costly. The days following Commander Vrax's second transmission saw humanity's defiance reach new heights. Instead of cowering or preparing for war, people around the globe embraced humor as their primary weapon. Bill Carter, the tech-savvy teenager from Chicago, became an overnight sensation. His latest creation was a video that overlaid Vrax's stern speech with cartoonish sound effects, wings, squeaks, and exaggerated laughter. The clip went viral almost instantly, shared millions of times across social media platforms. Even late-night talk show hosts couldn't resist featuring it, turning the Zorothian leader into the punchline of jokes worldwide. The memes didn't stop there. Artists drew caricatures of Vrax with oversized heads and comically tiny arms, while others photoshopped him into absurd scenarios, riding a skateboard, sipping coffee at a cafe, or even holding a balloon animal. Online forums buzzed with creativity, each post more hilarious than the last. The message was clear. Humanity wasn't afraid. If anything, they found the situation oddly entertaining. Even in space, humans kept up the playful resistance. Astronauts aboard the International Space Station projected giant smiley faces onto the sides of their modules using reflective panels. These cheerful symbols were visible from Earth and, likely from the Zorthian fleet as well. It was a small act, but one loaded with meaning. Humanity wasn't just laughing. They were inviting the aliens to join in the fun or, at least back on Earth. Sarah Bennett continued her reporting, capturing reactions from ordinary citizens. She interviewed a group of construction workers in Los Angeles who had painted a massive mural on the side of a building. The artwork depicted a Zorthian ship landing gently in a field of flowers, surrounded by stick-figure humans offering pizza and beer. If they're coming all this way, the least we can do is make them feel welcome. One worker joked, earning laughs from his coworkers. Jack Miller and Emily Dawson monitored these developments closely. They knew the light-hearted approach was working, but they also understood that the Zorathians wouldn't tolerate being mocked forever. During a private meeting, Jack leaned forward, tapping his fingers on the table. "We've got them rattled," he said. "But sooner or later, they'll try something bigger. We need to be ready." Emily nodded thoughtfully. Agreed. Humor buys us time, but it won't solve everything. Let's use this opportunity to learn more about them. She pulled up data on her tablet, showing Jack schematics of the Zorthian ships she had been analyzing. Their technology is advanced, but not flawless. I think I've found a pattern in how they communicate. If we can decode it, we might find a way to turn their own systems against them. As the two strategized, reports came in that the Zorothian fleet was growing restless. Ships moved erratically in orbit, occasionally firing harmless bursts of energy into space. It was as if the invaders were struggling to process what was happening below. For centuries, the Zorothian Empire had relied on fear to conquer planets. Now, faced with a species that refused to take them seriously, they seemed unsure of their next move. Even Commander Vrax appeared visibly agitated during another brief transmission. His glowing red eyes narrowed as he addressed the United Nations. "Once more, your mockery will not save you," he bellowed. But before he could elaborate, someone in the room coughed loudly, followed by the unmistakable sound of stifled laughter. Vrax froze, his holographic image flickering slightly before cutting out entirely. Jack smirked, shaking his head. "Poor guy. He really thought we'd roll over and play dead." Emily smiled faintly, though her mind remained focused on the bigger picture. Humanity's resilience and humor had thrown the Zorathians off balance, but the real challenge lay ahead. For now, though Earth stood united not through force, but through creativity, courage, and an unshakable belief in its own strength. Across the planet, people laughed, shared jokes, and dreamed up new ways to keep the pressure on. The Z had underestimated humanity, and that mistake would prove costly. As the days passed, the Zorathians grew increasingly frustrated. Their attempts to intimidate humanity had backfired spectacularly, and their once imposing presence now seemed almost comical. Commander Vrax, unable to ignore the growing mockery directed at his fleet, decided it was time to escalate. He transmitted a new message to Earth, this time with a clear threat. Unless humanity surrendered within 24 hours, the Zorathians would destroy Los Angeles. The announcement sent shockwaves through the world, but not in the way Vrax expected. Instead of panic, people responded with determination and humor. Jack Miller addressed the United Nations, his tone calm but resolute. "They think they can scare us by targeting one of our cities," he said. "But they've underestimated what we're capable of. We're not just going to sit here and let them push us around." Emily Dawson nodded in agreement. She had been working tirelessly to analyze the Zorathian ship's technology, searching for weaknesses. Her breakthrough came when she discovered a flaw in their shielding system. The shields, while powerful, required immense energy to maintain. If disrupted even briefly, the ships became vulnerable. Armed with this knowledge, Emily proposed a daring plan. "We don't need to fight them directly," she explained. "We can confuse them, make them waste resources, and hit them where it hurts, without firing a single shot." Jack grinned, catching on quickly. "Decoys and false signals," he said. "Let's give them something to chase." Together, they devised Operation Mirage, a strategy designed to outsmart the invaders. Using drones equipped with holographic projectors, they would create illusions of reinforcements arriving from distant star systems. At the same time, radio broadcasts filled with laughter, music, and nonsensical chatter would flood the Zorathian sensors, further disorienting them. Meanwhile, ordinary citizens prepared for the worst, but didn't lose hope. In Los Angeles, evacuation efforts began smoothly, with families packing their belongings and heading to safer areas. Yet many chose to stay behind, determined to show solidarity with their city. Sarah Bennett interviewed a local shop owner named Maria, who refused to leave her small cafe. "If they want to destroy my home, fine," Maria said with a shrug. "But first, they'll have to deal with me serving them the best coffee they've ever tasted." Even children joined in the resistance. A group of kids in a Los Angeles neighborhood painted colorful murals on walls facing the sky, depicting aliens dancing and shaking hands with humans. One boy proudly held up a sign that read, "Welcome to LA, free hugs." Back in space, astronauts worked alongside engineers to bolster Earth's defenses. They deployed satellites programmed to emit fake signals, mimicking advanced weaponry. To the Zorathians, it looked like Earth was preparing for an all-out war. But in reality, humanity was using its creativity and ingenuity to buy time and tilt the odds in their favor. Commander Vrax watched these developments with mounting frustration. His officers reported strange readings coming from Earth's surface and orbit, suggesting massive military buildups. The constant stream of laughter and music interfering with their communications only added to their confusion. For the first time, cracks appeared in the Zorathians' confidence. Vrax clenched his fists, realizing that humanity wasn't playing by the rules he understood. Down on Earth, Jack and Emily monitored the situation closely. "This is our chance," Jack said, studying the data on a screen. "If we hit them hard enough now, they'll start doubting themselves." Emily nodded, her eyes gleaming with determination. "And once they doubt, they'll hesitate. That's when we strike not with force, but with cleverness." As the deadline approached, tension hung thick in the air, but beneath it lay an unshakable sense of unity. Humanity had faced countless challenges before, and this was no different. With courage, creativity, and a touch of humor, they stood ready to face whatever came next.